The guys who don't yell but are in leadership positions, when they do end up getting upset, they don't even need to yell.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Today I have another very special guest with me, Lance Cayko with F9 Productions. It's a design build firm in Colorado. Lance, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brad. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So just give us kind of a quick overview, F9 Productions, what you do, just, 30,000 foot view for us.
Yeah. We're a 15-year-old company at this point. And when we started out of a garage / my business partner's apartment, which was kitty corner up to me. We both got laid off during the Great Recession. He came from New York, a big prominent firm, laid him off. I was in Boulder, got laid off there, and we started our firm with nothing. I mean, we had hardly any cash. We had no built work, and that's where the name F9 Productions actually comes from. Is all we had was architectural renderings, the photorealistic ones. So the F9 key on the keyboard for the software we were using at the time made all the F9 Productions, and that's how we had to convince clients to trust us with hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in their building projects. In order to do that, we starved for the first 3 or 4 years. Finally, the recession, we started to pull out of the recession in Colorado, and it's been a steady grind growth pattern for the last 15. And now we're up to 10 architects, interior designers, construction managers, that type of staff. And we started our first design build project was a tiny house, actually, in 2013. We were on HGTV for a couple weeks, every other week. And we won an International Architecture Award for it. And that kind of set the tone for us going, hey, what about design, build, and then eventually develop? We built a second set of tiny homes for Subaru after they saw us on HGTV, made enough cash to finally buy a piece of land. I'm sitting in our development right now, our office that we designed, built, and developed. It was a 6-plex and a triplex. And then after that, we went full-fledged design plus build, and it's been an awesome ride. So
you have your background as an architect, is that correct?
It's actually a builder. Carpenter. I mean, I started 42, so I've been swinging a hammer for 29 years, on and off. And when I was 13, I grew up in northwest North Dakota between a cattle ranch and a sugar beet farm. And I tried working with my dad for 1 week. Didn't work. Yeah, exactly. You probably get it. I mean, we were both pretty stubborn, and I just didn't really like that kind of work, even though now I literally am like, I just got done gardening. Like I have a huge nonprofit community garden. And I still farm and stuff like that, but didn't like it. And so what I did is I quit, and I said, hey, I'm going to go just call your best friend, Bruce. He was the general contractor. I want to try building. I'd always been like a Lego kid, a drawing kid, just really interested in like tactile building stuff. My grandpa was a carpenter and a builder, and I kind of wanted to see what that legacy was like. So called him up that night, and Bruce, I said, hey, I'll do whatever, can I just have a job? And he goes, yeah, I'll pay $7.25 an hour. You can be my gopher. I was like, oh, cool. What's a gopher? He's like, oh, you're going to go for this, go for that. When you're done going for the things, then you can get up on the roof with the big boys and learn how to roof. I was so intent on I want to learn how to roof. I want a skill. That was the best gopher he ever had. And about halfway through the summer, Bruce pulled me aside and he goes, how much do you think I'm paying you? How much do you think I'm charging the owners for every hour of your labor? $7.25. And he laughed, and I was embarrassed. And then Bruce is the first entrepreneur that I ever experienced in my life. He explained how service-based businesses work, that there's a 2 to 3x factor of labor that, you charge. And I go, isn't that stealing? And he goes, that seems immoral. And he goes, no. There's profit, there's overhead, there's risk. This is how it works. This is how you maintain a sustainable service-based business in the construction industry. And I also at that point I had this lens of, wow, Bruce doesn't have an anxiety about money. My dad does. I had the rich dad, poor dad experience before I even read the book. And I was like, end of the summer, we were done. We did 80 roofs. It was amazing. And the end of the summer, he pulls me aside one more time and he goes, what do you want to be? I go, I want to be you. How do I become you? I was just so sold on being Bruce, his general contractor, builder. And he goes, next year you don't work for me. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, you got to go learn framing. And then next summer after that, you should go learn foundations. And then after that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He goes, that's how you become a general contractor. You need to get your hands dirty in all of the different trades so you can speak their language. You can understand how the processes work, what happens before the other one, critical paths, all of that. So I did from 13 to 21. Then I went and tried to work a different trade every single summer. Went to tech school for 2 years in Wapaton. I had no intention of being an architect right away. It was like builder first. But then we got to our capstone in the tech school for building construction tech. And the word architect finally came into my brain because we were building a house as our capstone. And I went, if I became an architect at next, I suddenly loved school. If I became an architect, then I could fold those into building clients. This is like a 20-year-old kid having a light bulb of entrepreneurship going off in his head. I wish my son would do it, But I'm like, So I applied to North Dakota State, went to architecture school for 5 years. And then one more word popped up during that time. And it was developer. And I went, oh, goodness. Like I never even, growing up in a town of 500 people in Northwest North Dakota, like these are not people you work with a lot. Developers, architects, right. Builders a little bit, right? Obviously. When that developer light bulb went off, that one really stuck with me. And that kind of then to recap, F9 and what our trajectory to where we became design, build, and then develop. And now design plus build is kind of a full circle.
Great story. Yeah. I started out very similar to you. I actually took architectural drawing in high school. I had T&I classes. It was, 2-3 hour classes in high school. But no one told me you had to actually have good grades in order to get into architectural school, right? I was going to go to Ball State, which is a very well-known architectural school. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I had no chance of ever doing that. So then I just like, hey, let's go into the military. But still, like in summer, going and working for people, framer. At my dad's business, his boss was adding on a room, and he's like, hey, you got a guy, he's by himself. Why don't you come help him out? Did that for the summer, Habitat, one summer, stuff like that. And then it was actually like 7-8 years later, I found myself back into construction. But you are an architect then. I mean, you actually went to school got the degree, yep. Know how to do all that. Awesome. And then was your partner, was he an architect, or what was his... Your business
he did drafting like you in high school. Okay. Managed at least good enough grades to get an architecture school. So Similar story. But he did also he's a National Guard guy. So he's a veteran technically. But yes, he's an architect. He and I graduated. We became best. We actually hated each other in college. Second year of college. What I noticed about him is I was just like intrigued by this guy because everybody loved him. But not like girls were like flocking at him to date him. It was just it's a friend. All the guys, like everybody just loved this guy. And I was like, what does he have that I don't have? And then he, on the opposite, he would look at me and he'd be like, I would, have all these girls to date. And I was pretty good at that. And he was like, well, what does he have that I don't have? And I was cocky in my own regard. He was also pretty arrogant in his own. And we thought like, no, there's no way. Well, second semester of studio, we both like felt the urge and the challenge to sit right across from each other. And we did. And all of a sudden it became like, oh, this guy's not so bad. This guy's not so bad. Maybe we should work together. So then the next year we did our first design project together after we saw each other leading other teams and totally having trouble with other teams. Then we did a project together, won a skyscraper competition, and then became best friends just because we were like, oh, you're the yin to my yang. Like I'm the engineer. You're the big lofty idea guy. You're the good cop. I'm the bad cop. And then, we graduated number one, number two. We like to joke in some ways that I'm number one. He's number two at the top of our class. We had no intention of starting the firm, for like 10 years, but push came to shove. And it was like, he got laid off before me. He went back to construction management in North Dakota State thinking, I'm going to get another master's degree. This recession's 1 year. We didn't know any better. We're just young guys. We had no idea. Nobody did actually for that Great Recession, right? It was literally the Great Recession. And so he finishes, has to go live, can't get a job. Economy's still in the dumps. I get laid off when he graduates with that second degree. But I had been really working my butt off behind the scenes, trying to line up a bunch of CAD work to keep myself and my family going. I had 2 children at the time, just had a newborn. So when I got laid off, it was like super devastating from just a masculine kind of standpoint of like being a provider and a protector. So I managed to get a bunch of CAD work, kind of remote stuff that I worked for doing a bunch of modeling stuff. It was sort of architectural and everything. Then I got a house and I got a clinic. Actually brought the clinic back to the architects that have laid me off, which was kind of hilarious and ironic. And then Al's calls me one day and he goes, I just hate my life. Like, I've been living with my mom and dad for 3 or 4 months. I got to get out of here. And I go, well, how much cash you got? And he goes, oh, I got like 4 or 5 grand. I go, that's enough. I think I've got a pipeline for work. I think I've figured it out how to do this. We're not even licensed yet. Well, we'll figure out how to get licensed. There's a lot of stuff we can do unlicensed, like single family homes, and we can work for other architects and do renderings and stuff like that. So he came down, and like I said, we struggled for about 3 or 4 years, barely made payroll. We paid ourselves like the bare minimum to just live. And then we got licensed. And one of the things that we tried to do is just be the opposite of these other architects. And that just paid off dividends like crazy. I mean, some of our first clients just told us, we go, well, why did you pick us over this very established firm? And they go, you guys picked up the phone. You guys gave a crap. Yeah. You guys listened,
Basics.
Yeah.
So it's not just in construction. It's obviously in architecture firms and everywhere else, engineering firms. People get too big, they get too busy, and they just don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It's totally nuts. I think it's bonkers because we expanded on the idea of F9 probably 10 years ago after we got a good rhythm going in business. And the way we expanded on it was we said, well, let's just make these into 9 principles. And number 4 is communicate. We have a rule at our both offices, Longmont and Denver, and then with the construction team and interiors, everybody is if a client consultant, somebody professionally we're working with, emails us, texts us, calls us, you have to get back to them within 1 hour. It's a real lofty goal. Does it slip into maybe a full workday? Sure. But the North Star is 1 hour. And even if it's just, hey, I see your email. I don't have the time to get back to you in detail, but I am processing it. I will help answer your question or whatever tomorrow. Has been giant. That has been the biggest thing. It's been so much bigger than you guys. I'm hiring you guys to do a really cool house, a really cool office building, anything like that. I'm convinced the general public already understands, like, architects are going to push design. They are going to do cool stuff. Or if they're looking at me from a builder, this builder is going, from a builder perspective, I'm hiring Lance to build my building because he has the right subs. He's going to get it done. We're going to be under budget, on time, all that good stuff. It's the communication that just takes it up to another level where people are like, we've had a client recently. It was a super small project. You're talking like a couple $1,000s in fees. It's like a little addition to the back of a garage and between a mudroom and stuff. Nothing fancy. And she goes, I was a little hesitant to reach out to you guys because you guys look like a big design build firm. But the way you took care of me made me feel like it was just your number one client. And I go, well, you are. I mean, that's the idea, is to try to make everybody feel like there's a red carpet for them at all times with our company. And that's been the hugest thing. Yeah.
I mean, communication is absolutely critical. We talk about this a lot. I talk about this in my social media channels and videos and stuff. It's so easy. I mean, concept wise, obviously, like you said, if you're super busy, sometimes it can be difficult, but it's not hard to just communicate. It really isn't.
Yeah. We read a book. We read one book each year too with a company. It's mandatory. It's not too, crazy of time and everything. And people usually enjoy it because it's a lot of like a self-improvement book. So one of the ones we read on the communication lines is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
Huge. Like, I can't really put a number on how many times a week or a day staff will be saying. It's probably in the dozens where they're going, I'm just seeking to understand. That's one of the principles. I'm seeking to understand, whether it's through you're seeking to understand what a client is looking for, what a consultant is looking for, what the city is looking for. Just trying to understand before you make a judgment call on something goes such a huge way, because I've gotten tangled with a recent new subcontractor. I won't even say what trade it is. Tried him out for the first time, and I'm actually going to send him the book. And when we're done with the project, and go, I think you guys, look, I'm not trying to give you guys unsolicited advice like a jerk. I just think you guys do a great job in the field, but you guys could be cream of the crop if you just picked it up in the office and did more seeking to understand rather than just accusing, for instance, like, well, the plumbers need to have a fire under their butt. It's like, they do. That's not even the problem of why they're behind. If you guys would have seeked to understand why they're behind, then you would understand where we're at, and we wouldn't have gotten to this heated argument, and maybe I would be more inclined to work with you guys in the future type of things. So it's huge. And there's just all of those methodologies behind the communication that I think are key to figure out.
Well, I've had this conversation many times, even recent guests, we've talked about it. I mean, there's a lot of ego in construction, right? And so, and I teach sales for contractors. And so like one of the things is like, you don't make any assumptions ever. Right? You just don't make any assumptions. You collect enough data, which is, trying to understand, learn more. And then once we have enough data, then we can communicate, in a way that's going to make sense. And this idea of like, not communicating is going to somehow solve the problem on its own or make it better. It's just mind blowing of like, what I'm trying to get to is like the EQ skills matter actually, in my opinion, way more than the physical skills.
Yeah.
Like you can almost, and I've made this argument, you can be kind of average, in terms of quality and production, but if your customer service is amazing, you will do far better than a company that's great product and terrible service. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, 100%. I love that you brought up the EQ and the IQ, and that then sort of sandwiched it with just being average. It's like average works. Average gets the job done. Average passes code. Average passes inspection. Average speed will be acceptable on many, many jobs, whether it's design or build or whatever you're doing, any kind of service-based stuff. And this is the thing they actually don't teach in college or trade school or just, I think, almost anywhere. And that's where I think it's like our job, Brad, and why I try to guest on shows like yours or have people like you on my show is this is where it actually, I think, is sort of the breakthrough is happening in our industry, whether it's architecture, engineering, or construction, that whole AEC triangle, is I'm seeing people open up a lot more and start talking about this stuff. And like, this is what matters. And you're right, with the ego is really interesting, especially it's a male dominated industry. That's one of the reasons why I love it, because I'm like, it's still one of the sanctuaries for males to be males and succeed and excel and all of that. But the problem with it is, and I recognize this, is like there's a lot of fragile egos. There's a lot of imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like, I don't know how many times I've had to tell why I'm experiencing this specific thing recently in the last 3 months is just blowing my mind. I'm like, there's another book I read that was really good. I had an author on my podcast. It was the book is called Hold the Calm. And because I've been accused of being like a hothead sometimes. I think everybody has a fuse at some point, right? And so I read the book and I went, one of the biggest things I've learned from it is like, my dad did this to me all the time growing up. And one of my best friends used to as well. I still think about him once a month about this because it bugs me. It irks me. He goes, he's like, calm down. When has that ever worked? When has that ever worked to tell anybody? Yeah. Right? I mean, I saw you're married. I have a wife. It's like,
oh, it works great with your wife.
Good luck. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's the perfect litmus test. Girlfriend, wife, whatever. Go tell them to calm down. Does it work? No. Well, why do you think that's going to work in the professional world? Right. And so that book gives you a bigger, higher EQ to help de-escalate situations, because there's no doubt on any construction project, there is going to be a crescendo of emotion at some point where, whether it's you as the GC and the owner, maybe it's you, the owner, and a sub, or you and a couple subs in a meeting on site, trying to solve a problem, finger pointing, emotions. It's going to happen. Whether it's like a hot day causing it, you know what I mean? Just goofiness. They're having problems at home, whatever. Figuring out how to not tell people to calm down and figuring out how to get them to calm down without telling them that, because it never works, is like a superpower. That's where it's like spreading the message like this. I think that's That's just I just want to do it because I want a better industry.
Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how I can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
We get accused a lot, rightly so, by people of going, I had a client tell me the other day, we were only their architect, but I asked them if they were going to use this builder again on this new big addition we're going to do on their house. It's one of our most famous houses. It's been in Dwell magazine. It's amazing. And he's one of my friends now at this point, this owner. And I go, are you going to use, X, are you going to use X, Y, and Z again? And he goes, oh yeah. I go, well, I thought you guys had a big blow up. And he goes, yeah, but like 5-6 years away from when we finish the project, I'm realizing your industry is a shit show. And I'm like, and he goes, you general contractors are used car salesmen. He goes, I don't mean that with disrespect. He goes, you guys have to sell the most difficult thing that I'm ever going to do in my life, which is build a building. And that you can't tell us that all the things that are possibly going to go wrong. Otherwise, we'd never build anything. So you're sort of having to be a used car salesman about it. And I just want this industry to get better. That's the big, and there's so much human capital involved with it in our industry, and there's so many different moving parts physically and with the people. And it's one of the last things we make in America. Like, I don't want it to go away. I actually don't want the automation to happen. I don't think it ever will in a certain regard. You're not going to send a robot in to fix an existing building, I don't think.
New construction, yeah, for sure, but not remodel.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are kind of my lengthy thoughts.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic we won't get into about AI and automation. But no, the EQ stuff, I mean, like I said, when I work with contractors on the sales aspect of it, it's like, it's not about you guys. Like, it's not about how many awards you won. It's not about, how great you are and how long you've been a carpenter. Like, that stuff, it does build trust and it does build credibility. But that's not what matters, right? It's like how you make the client feel. And so that EQ skill can be applied to subcontractors, general contractors, architects, and it doesn't matter, anyone in the construction industry. There's just so much ego. And so like if you can have someone screaming at you on the phone, right, blaming you for everything, and you don't take it personally, and then you're just trying to figure out what went wrong so that you can try to solve this problem for them. If you have that capability, you will go a lot farther in life and in your business than if you're just reacting to someone else who's being, emotional in that moment. And so like that is a true skill that people don't understand.
It's a superpower the screaming specifically. I don't have a superintendent anymore. We refocused the way we have our construction company. But when I did, and I was teaching him, there was multiple times where the owner would scream at me, and then we'd be done with the meeting and he would go, are you okay? And I'm like, I didn't lose. Like, it's not that I won, but like that person definitely lost, and they got it out of their system, and everything's going to be fine tomorrow. And we solved the problem, but they just had to get that out of their system. And that's why it's a superpower. And holding the calm is like, if you can do that, you're always the adult in the room, and everybody sees it. Like there's been plenty of times where it's a husband and wife duo, and the husband loses his mind, screaming, yelling, and the wife's like, I'm so sorry. And she knows he's the one, right? And I know that, like, as long as I win over the wife, like, did I lose? No, I won over the wife. That's what matters. Because they spend the most of the money anyway. I mean, it's statistically true, Right. So, yeah.
No, there's a funny story. There was a local builder who was pretty well known. I mean, he was considered one of the top, builders in the area. But his reputation was, this was coming from an electrician that I was using. He was saying, one time we were on a site and there was a problem. And so, and I don't know if it was the electrician's fault or not, but the builder was upset, and they're having a conversation outside on site. And in the middle of the conversation, the builder just left and got in his truck and drove away. And then about a minute later, 30 seconds later, the electrician's phone rings, and it's the builder. And now he's yelling at the top of his lungs. And so he couldn't yell in person because it was too confrontational, right? So he had to get on his phone and do that. And that was just his reputation, which is insane to me.
It's insane. People don't want to. Leadership is a privilege that I do think is earned, and you have to keep earning it as you start to be more of a leader with people. And the general contractor is sort of the ultimate leader, especially if you're leading men with egos, like we keep talking about. And I don't believe that. My dad was a yeller, and I've tried my whole life to not be that guy and be a yeller. And I had many other like father figure examples from my buddies. One of which is like at my business partner. And I noticed the guys who don't yell but are in leadership positions, when they do end up getting upset, they don't even need to yell because you don't want to see them upset in that kind of way. It's so out of their usual character. That sort of leadership style goes much, much further. Whether you're the owner, the builder, or a subcontractor or anything, like, and you're in that kind of role too, is like, I don't think just because you're writing a check that it gives you license to mistreat people.
Oh, absolutely.
You're right. You have this big responsibility as somebody who, if you employ other people, like I said, if you like, especially if you're the owner, right? Because if the owner thinks just because they're writing the check that they have a license to mistreat people, then I would ask them, and I have asked owners to their face this. I go like, so do you go into a restaurant and mistreat the wait staff because you're writing the check? It's like the most obvious example you could give somebody. And it's like, no, that's not how you do it. Leadership is a craft in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just like anything else. Like, you have to read books, you have to learn, you have to invest. I think it's one of the biggest downfalls with contractors because we're so good with our hands, right? That we develop a skill that we physically do that we're really good at. And then we just put all our identity in that and the craft side of it. But then we don't learn sales, we don't learn business, we don't learn accounting, we don't learn leadership because, well, I learned everything else OJT, right? I became a craftsman learning on the job site. I'll just figure everything else out as I go. And it's like, in what world do you expect to get better at something unless you practice?
Yeah, 100%. And it's not our fault, right? Because that's our primary focus initially. I'm totally with you. We get the whole critical path. We understand, especially if you're a GC, then you understand like what comes first, what comes next, what comes after that. Who do I need to make sure is there that day? Even if it's just as simple as like, oh, the cleaner has to show up today, or the flooring guys are going to be so pissed tomorrow because I can't sanding and getting everything going. Literally on this other, job site, like everybody's critical in their own regard. So yeah, you just gotta. That's why I'm thankful for shows like this. Other shows, people finally speaking up about it. I don't know if we've ever had that happen before. Podcasting really came out. I mean, it's really huge in that regard. Sure, there's books, but no offense. I mean, as a half blue collar guy, I would rather listen and watch, right? Because we're so physical than sit down with a book. It's just usually not our thing. And I think it's really been a huge thing for men.
The only way I read a book is if it's on Audible. Like, I got to listen to it, and I can't. I mean, yes, I've read some books, but what is it? A kinesthetic learner, where it's like visually, or you have to like see. If I watched you do something that I've never done before, and I can just watch you do it, I can replicate that with almost near exact perfection. But if you try to explain it to me and not see it happen, like, I'm going to struggle a lot with that.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears for a second. Before I do that, though, I was on your website. You guys have some beautiful projects. I was looking at your residential and your homes. I want to ask, any inspiration that Franklin Lloyd Wright, like that, kind of see a little bit of that in there? Is that?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's real. That's like super flattering for you to say that, because yes, I mean, Al and I. That's why Al actually, one of the primary reasons he decided to be an architect. He's also a builder, by the way. He's kind of like he's flattered me and said in like public speeches to people, is like he's always looked at me sort of as this big brother figure, and then he's got to do it too, right? So, but his grandmother took him to Falling Water when he was a very young child, and then he was just kind of hooked on the whole thing. one of my mentors in college was a huge Frank Lloyd Wright fan, Daryl Booker. And I've been to both Taliesin West, Taliesin East. And I just liked Frank Lloyd Wright because he was such an American entrepreneur. He's like a hypomanic. This is one of the most recent books I've read is like the hypomanics and I'm clearly one of them. And I wish I would do a segment on him. But the thing that we've always tried to really take from what he did as an architect and a builder, because he was also a builder, is that he was out there physically with, especially in Taliesin West and East, he was out there with the architects insisting that they should build, which is, I think too, it was like, go pick up a hammer as an architect, please, so that you can have empathy for the field. These men are risking their lives to build your beautiful buildings. Statistically, like it's one of the most dangerous professions out there. So yeah, the houses that we've done that are most indicative of that are probably the East Watch, West Watch, South Watch, North Watch series. And so the East Watch was our first one, and that's probably our most famous house that I was kind of talking about earlier. And we're not trying to dominate the mountains with those houses.
Right.
We're trying to actually integrate them with the landscape. And we've actually had to fight a lot of HOAs.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
In the area. Yeah, because they're like, some of them are strangely worried about the snow loads because they think it's a flat roof, but it's not. It's usually like a 112 pitch on those really low roofs. And we go, don't worry, like we're engineering it. We'll stamp it. It's our liability. We have E&O insurance, and then the builder's like, yeah, as long as the engineers sign off, and they're very robust roofs and all that. But they think these houses are dominant. And I'm going, do you guys understand the volume of attic space we're removing from the landscape by not doing these super high pitches? And as soon as we get them to understand that with like sort of a visual A/B test, they all sign off and they go, oh, yeah, you guys are blending with the landscape. This is Frank Lloyd Wright-esque architecture, very horizontal, because we're horizontal beings. I mean, we see a horizon every single day, right? This is our perception and how we do it.
Yeah, no, I think they're amazing. I was looking at your website. One thing, like lots of glass, which I love the look of that. Personally, I would not want to live in that house because I got to close the shades. I don't want anybody looking in. But I love the look of that. And so I was just on your website. I also love on your website because you have the portfolios, which, by the way, is like a lesson in how to set up a website. Like you have your portfolio, and then you have the information, the materials you used. And like on the one I was looking at, it wasn't on all of them. It was the level one. You even have the floor plan on there, of that particular one. So I just want to say, your work looks amazing. Congratulations on that. And I love your website and how it's laid out.
Thank you.
So the one thing, I know we're getting a little bit short on time. I just wanted to touch on something that you had mentioned off screen about like attracting top talent and just kind of this culture in your business. And you touched on a little bit earlier about the 9 principles that you have with the F9. And like, what would you say is like the single biggest thing that contractors listening to this, whether they're small, big, what do they have to get right in terms of attracting top talent?
Well, we've already talked ad nauseum about not yelling.
Well, yeah.
And, not, not being a yeller. So that kind of, I had to give one more jab in there about that is like, what I've always tried to do with every employee is say, I'm not here to hold you back. I want you to bite off as much as you want to chew. If you want to, on the architecture side, accelerate and eventually be a principal and a co-owner, let's talk about how we get there. Because if you want more reward, I'm just going to give you more responsibility. If you're up to it, cool. Works for me. Like, I think there's plenty of money to go around. I'm not here to be a protectionist, even with my own companies, to that extent where I'm like, you're never going to be where I'm at. It's like, no, why not? Like, I get to fish and hunt and hike more. That would be fine for me. Right. I'm not here to like squeeze every single penny out of everybody. Same thing on the contracting side is with like our construction managers and people that do construction administration for us. It's where do you want to be? Do you want to keep accelerating? Then it's going to require X, Y, and Z. And at the same time, though, the challenge is this with both of those is Alex and I, my business partner, we work, 50 hours. Maybe sometimes pushing 50, 55 on our own time. Like I just got back from vacation with my wife, and she knows the drill because I'm paying all the bills. It's like I get up at 5, I work till maybe 8. By the time I'm done working, she's ready to go for the day. It didn't hurt anybody, But I'm a hypomanic, so that's how I maintain this sort of lifestyle where it's the work and play. It's about 50-50. That's your challenge, is like, how do you then create an efficient system and framework with your employees in your companies, in your contracting company, to where you're not burning guys out and you're allowing them to only usually work maybe 40-45 hours a week so they get their R&R, which is super important. This is a very stressful profession. It will burn guys out real quick if you don't figure that part out.
Especially if you're not making enough money. Like, money doesn't make you happy, but if you're burning both ends of the candle, it does help a little bit if you're actually being profitable. when you're working that much and you're not profitable,
100%.
like it's very difficult to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to learn how to say no. You got to learn how to go, I don't need every job.
Yep.
Maybe I do need to take some risks and raise the fees and get to the point where I go, it's okay if my success rate of winning jobs is only 30-40%, but I'm commanding higher fees and therefore getting higher salaries and better timelines.
Let me ask you this. Do you guys, if I wanted you to build a house for me, do you charge consultation? Like, do I have to pay something to do that?
No, first meeting's gratis. Yeah, I'm still of that kind of mindset where I'm happy to just sit down for an hour with somebody. The craziest things have happened to me by even just, again, sort of picking up the phone and giving people some advice on the phone. There's so many people that don't know how the industry works that are trying to do something. They're trying to start a business. So they sign a letter of intent on a space that they're going to build out for a tenant finish. They are wanting to buy a piece of land and build a little house on it or something like that. Or their landlord is telling them one thing and another. When I've picked up the phone and then answered and just talked them through how the process works, I've probably gotten at this point out of 135 five-star reviews that we have from both companies on Google. 10 of those, I think, are just me talking to people and them not even hiring me, because I've given them a little bit of advice and saved them a ton of money. And they go like, hey, you can go look them up too. They're kind of funny to read, some of them, because they're like, I spoke with Lance. We didn't even hire him as an architect, but he gave me such good advice and saved me so much money. I had to leave him a 5-star review, and I will work with him in the future when we do need an architect. And that's kind of why I've always still been okay with first meetings free. That's okay.
And I agree with that sentiment as well. I mean, obviously a lot of people reach out and I try to help them as best I can. But I mean, like if we're going to engage, you have like a design agreement or some kind of like once.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we're architects first. That's the one thing too, as I say, that's why we're not design/build, we're design plus build. So a lot of people do come to us though, especially since we've been building for about 7 years now, steady as licensed Class B contractors and all of that, is they go, hey, I love that you're going to provide a white glove service. Like, I don't want to have to interview 3 more contractors. Yep. Like, they like our methodology because we are cost plus open book. Like, that's sort of the catch, is we're cost plus. It's not a fixed fee. It's a fixed percentage on all the subs and everything on top, how we make our money, but it's a moving target. But you get to see all the bids. It's not closed book. You're fully engaged with us, looking at we can engage multiple subs and all of that. So they come to us and they go, and I go, but here's the deal, is we're going to be your architect first. We need to get about halfway through that architecture process and see if this is still a good fit for another 2 years. And I go, because it's going to be a year to build your project. Then we have to warranty it for another year. After that, this is a long-term thing if we're going to go the full design plus build. And then they have to meet a couple of other criteria. And here's where it's sort of like, I didn't realize this would happen until, we started doing it. Like, I didn't have this epiphany when I was 20, but it's like, man, I can be pretty picky about who I build for. There's a likability part of it. And are we going to have the sort of temperaments we need for each other over those 2 to 3 years? Because there's going to be high points and low points and all that. They have to be within a 30 to 45 minute radius of my Northern Colorado office in Longmont. And then they got to be cash. And I don't mean that we're skirting the IRS. It's like, I don't want to deal with Wells Fargo. I like if you are some of our commercial developers, it's hard money. The draws are easy. It's self-inspections. The homeowners who we're doing with these multi-million-dollar homes for, or even just these little additions, again, not having to go through a bank. It's a streamlined process and those sort of things. So yeah, and our architecture services are usually between 5 and 10% of a total construction budget. Contracting, we're those guys that are between 15 and 20%. markups on everything. And we just, people trust us to go there, and they know that we're going to get it done for those kind of fees. There's a lot less change orders. It just works.
Yeah, no, I love I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of cost plus, but it works if you actually have good systems, you have good teams, and you're controlling that process, throughout. I know guys that are like, yeah, we'll do cost plus, and I'll use your subs that you want, your brother's a plumber, and I'll go ahead and use them on.
Oh,
and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I've tried that recently on one, and I'm just pulling my hair out. But it's only one sub, but it's still such a wrench.
Well, there's just so many.
I'm like, I trusted you.
Yeah, there's so many things, where it's like this sub does this task, and the other sub, which can do it, doesn't. But then you replace that sub, and he's not doing that task that the other sub used to do, and now it's like, well, who's going to do that task? And it's just there's so many little things that come up like that you can't control that. Yeah. What I wanted to point out was, when you're first starting, obviously you got to get work, you got to get food, food on the table. You got to get work coming in. You're going to have to work for people that you probably don't want to work for. But once you kind of establish that reputation, you get to pick and choose. You don't have to work with everyone. Just because the phone rings doesn't mean that you have to do work for them. And so I think for a lot of guys, it's hard for them to, and it's a scarcity mindset. Well, if I don't sell this job, I don't know if the next one's going to come in a month. And so I have to sell every job that comes in. And I just think that sets you up for a lot of failure working for people who in the end were, just absolute nightmare clients to work for. And everyone walks away from that with a bad taste in their mouth. Yeah.
You got to figure out how to identify the red flags right away. You got to become a Genesis 128 guy. That's what I am, is a be fruitful and multiply, like that's the mindset of abundance. This idea of scarcity. I don't know if you're an outdoorsman, Brad. I am. And it's like, I go look at the woods all the time in Colorado, and I pointed out to my children, I'm like, do you see how many trees there are? Like, it's crazy. I'm not sure the people from New York City ever understand that nature is almost infinite. Like, it probably is. I mean, it just seems like it's the abundance there. And then that's what brings me back to folding that into business is it's okay you got to figure out how to say no to some people. It maybe doesn't happen right away. Like you said, Brad, you gotta, and then when you don't do it right away, because you have to eat. Yeah. That's only going to make you tough. That's going to make you stronger. Like, I would hope you learn some lessons from working with those difficult people that make you stronger, better, higher EQ, all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even like using clients' materials and stuff. I mean, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't care if you get a discount at this place. We have systems in place that we've developed over the years. That way we can streamline the process and deliver to you the highest quality product and experience. And if you change one thing out of that, it just blows the whole thing up. Yep. So also, I know we're getting short on time, Lance. Really appreciate you taking time coming on here and talking about your experiences and the amazing business that you've built. If someone wants to just learn more about your business or even maybe have you build a house for them, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, two ways. Go to f9productions.com. You can fill out the contact form. You can sign up for our newsletter. We send a newsletter every month that keeps you up to date on all of our latest and greatest and cool stuff. And then you can go to linkedin.com and you can type in LANCE, last name Cayko, Cayko. I will link in with almost anybody. I post some real positive motivational stuff on there about every week. That's personal and professional. I just went on this huge, crazy hike with one of my best friends, 15 miles, 35,000 steps, 4,000 feet of elevation gain, and tied it all back into like how things make you stronger while you're looking forward.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check out his LinkedIn. We'll put links in the show notes too for those that people can get access to that. I always ask all my clients this question. You've mentioned a few during the episode, but what's a book that you're currently reading or one that you would recommend?
Oh, well, now I got to give you two answers for that.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first one that I recommend, especially every man who's listening to this needs to listen to Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. It will 100% change your life because there it is. There it is. I love that. Yeah. I try to read it once a year at this point, like hiking, just like you. Like I'm very much an auditory guy. And the other one I'm reading is, especially if you're an entrepreneur, it'll help you understand yourself better, or other entrepreneurs that you're working with, is The Hypomanic Edge. I've never understood myself more, or my wife has understood me at a hypomanic edge. It has these really cool stories about like some of our founding fathers, for example, like Alexander Hamilton, hypomanic.
Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, this is how these dudes work. So yeah.
I have not heard that book. I'm definitely going to check that out. The Hypomanic Edge. Do you know who the author is?
John D. Gartner. Gartner, Gartner.
Awesome. I'll check.
Phenomenal book.
I'll definitely check that one out.
Cool.
That's why I asked the question, because I always learn new books to read and get more information. So
You're doing it right, brother.
Lance, thanks again for being on the show. It was awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brad. Pleasure.
Guys, that's the end of the show. You know where to find me on the socials. Just search for the Hammer Grind Podcast. And remember, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.